News and Brief and Press TV, the United Nations says one of its aid convoys has come under attack in the northern Syrian city of Aleppo. The convoy was carrying food and medicine for Syrians trapped in the Flashpoint city. A UK-based monitoring group says the assault left at least 12 Red Crescent workers dead. The Syrian army says it has repelled an attack by foreign-backed militants on a military base on the outskirts of the northern city of Aleppo. The army said the terrorists were seeking to take control of the base that had been recaptured by government forces earlier this month. Iran's President Hassan Rouhani is in Cuba on an official visit aimed at expanding bilateral ties. During the one-day stay, Rouhani sat down with President Raul Castro and his older brother and predecessor Fidel to discuss a number of agreements in various fields, including the trade and energy sectors. North Korea says it has successfully test-fired a new high-power satellite rocket engine as part of its space program. The test was supervised by North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Pyongyang is reportedly planning to launch a satellite in October to mark the 68th anniversary of the ruling Workers' Party of Korea. The police chief in the U.S. city of Tulsa in Oklahoma says a black man fatally shot by police last week was unarmed. Investigators say 40-year-old Terrence Crutcher was approached by officers who were probing a vehicle when he was shot. Crutcher's family is calling for criminal charges to be filed against the officers. New York Mayor Bill de Blasio says U.S. authorities have confirmed that Saturday's bomb blast in the city's Chelsea district was an act of terror. This after police detained a suspect of the bombings in New York City and New Jersey. The man has been identified as Ahmed Khan Rahimi. Amnesty International has called on the U.S. and the U.K. to immediately stop supplying weapons to Saudi Arabia amid concerns over the use of the weaponry in Riyadh's war on Yemen. Now, the rights group confirmed that a U.S.-made bomb was used in the sadly deadly attack on an MSF hospital in August. A massive fire has forced thousands of refugees to leave the Moria detention center on the Greek island of Lesbos. Police say nearly all tents and prefabricated homes inside of the facility caught a fire in the incident. So far, there have been no reports of casualties.
The warehouse of the Syrian Christians. This is the warehouse of the Syrian Christians. Abroad this house were more than 20 vehicles, 20 trucks full of food and flour and medicine and pampers and blanket. Today is the 19th September of 2016. At the evening, exactly the evening, 7:30 o'clock, the regime helicopter targeted this place with 4 barrels. The Urim Civil Defense Center respond to this place in order to ambulance the injuries. But the regime also target this place again. The refugee agency, the UN refugee agency. This is full of blanket from the refugee agency. UN Refugee Agency. This is builders. You see, pampers as a aid, pampers aid from the UN to the Syria Crescent in order to be distributed to the people, to the displaced, to the needed. So the regime and Russia target this place and kill the staff of the Syrian Crescent, as you see. Medicine on the ground. Syria Christian bodies on the ground.
We're learning more about the 2 police officers who were wounded in the gun battle with Ahmed Rahami. As you heard in Jeff's report, both officers will survive. Rahami was hit multiple times before police detained him. Michelle Miller is in Linden, New Jersey at the scene of Rahami's arrest. Michelle, good morning.
Good morning. Behind me is where that shootout took place, and police have cordoned off this entire area, barricaded this street. They're looking for clues as to what led Rahami to Linden, the town next door to where he lives.
Hours after police detonated an explosive early Monday morning, law enforcement asked the public to be on alert for Ahmed Khan Rahami. Just after 10 a.m., Harry Baines discovered him sleeping in the doorway of his Linden, New Jersey bar.
Business was slow because of rain, so I was spending more time watching the news, and I saw this guy's photo, and the guy looks same.
Baines called the Linden police. Officer Angel Padilla responded and recognized Rahami from the wanted poster.
He then told the person, "Show me your hands," and at that point the suspect went to his side, pulled out a handgun and fired around at our officer, striking him in the abdomen area. Fortunately, the officer had a bulletproof vest on.
Cell phone video captured the gunshots that followed. Padilla returned fire and Rahami took off running, shooting at and wounding Officer Peter Hammer, who was in a police car. Officers eventually shot and apprehended Rahami less than 2 blocks from where he was found. Rahami lived with his family in neighboring Elizabeth, above this restaurant owned by his father. Federal authorities raided the apartment on Monday. This family was on your radar.
They're on the radar for code violations for noise problems, yes.
Beginning in April of 2009, the city of Elizabeth enforced an ordinance to close the restaurant each night at 10 p.m. following noise complaints from neighbors. The Rahamis allegedly refused and filed a lawsuit against the city and its police department 2 years later for discrimination because they were Muslim.
That lawsuit ended in 2012 when Rahami's brother pled guilty to blocking police from enforcing that 10 p.m. ordinance. Charlie?
Thanks, Michelle. The bombing in Chelsea happened on the first full day on the job for the city's new police commissioner. Commissioner James O'Neill is here with us now for an interview you'll see only on CBS This Morning. Welcome, and talk about hitting the ground running. That was you, Mr. Commissioner, on the other day.
Good morning, Gail.
Good morning. Good to have you here.
Good to have you here.
Do authorities know yet if this suspect acted alone, and what can you tell us about his condition at this point?
He's, as of last night, he was critical but stable. As far as acting alone, that's part of the investigation. I think Bill Sweeney, the assistant director in charge of the FBI at the press conference yesterday, laid it out pretty straight. Now, this is not just because he's in custody, doesn't mean the investigation stops. It's really, this is where it starts. So this is, they're going to look at friends, family, go through all of his records, his social media, his phones, and we'll see if he acted alone.
Are they able to communicate with him? Because we're told he was not cooperating.
No, he's still, medically, I think there are some issues, so, but we will get a chance to talk.
What are the issues medically?
He was shot multiple times, so he has to be treated first, and then the FBI, the Joint Terrorist.
Is it likely he will survive?
I'm not a doctor, but critical but stable usually means he will.
Motive?
Not sure yet. Part of the investigation has all the obvious signs of an act of terror. I went to the scene on Saturday night after I got the phone call from one of my sergeants, and the devastation was tremendous. You know, you get a call to come down to the scene, you go down there not knowing really what to expect, and at first blast, there was a dumpster, went from one side of the street to the other, so the force of the blast was tremendous. I think we're really lucky that only 29 people received not serious injuries. So.
When you first saw it, Commissioner, what did you think you were dealing with?
A bomb blast. You know, it was pretty obvious. Mark Torrey from our bomb squad was down there. FBI bomb techs were down there. You know, it was pretty obvious.
I mean, but did you immediately think terrorism, I guess, is what I'm curious about.
You know what? I've been in this business for 33 and a half years. It used to be just traditional crime, but I think the things that really keep me up at night are thinking about acts of terror.
Or wake you up in the morning.
Yeah. As John Miller usually does.
Yes.
As Commissioner, what's your biggest worry or concern right now?
That you know, we get to the bottom of this investigation and try to figure out if he did act alone. I think it's a good sign that we found him in a doorway, that he was found in a doorway. You know, hopefully that means he had nowhere to go, so that's a pretty good sign. But as we move forward with this investigation, my job is to keep the people of this city safe. So it's important that we find out what his motivation was. If he had any connections.
Do you personally believe that he acted alone? I mean, how could he have built these bombs? How could he have been so angry, these writings, and no one else know about it?
You know what? It kind of doesn't matter what I personally believe.
Okay.
We have to see what the investigation reveals. There are a number of devices that he had. We have to figure out how they were constructed, where he learned how to do that.
But were they sophisticated?
I don't want to go into the level of sophistication.
Okay.
I spoke to the bomb techs and Bill Sweeney, but I really don't want to.
How lucky are you?
Did you find any other fingerprints on the undetonated bomb?
You know what? There's a lot of forensic evidence that we found, and and if you went to the site on Saturday and saw how widespread the damage was, the work that they did was tremendous, painstakingly.
What have you learned from this? Sitting here this morning with us, having the investigation, knowing something about him, what is the takeaway for you as the new police commissioner?
Well, the takeaway for me as the new police commissioner is that, hey, this is about the police, this is about the FBI, but this is about everybody in New York City. We pushed out a message through OEM that was truly helpful. We told everybody what was going on, and there was a link to a picture once he was identified. So I think all of us working together, not just law enforcement, I think that's the way we're going to keep the city safe.
Are you surprised you got him so quickly? Because everybody I know got one of those alerts to say, be on the lookout for this guy.
You know what? I'm not surprised. And again, I've been doing this a long time. I was in the fugitive division for about 6 years, and I know what we do to catch people. So I was real happy that we were able to catch him within 50 hours and identify him within 35 hours. So I think I was really, really pleased.
Now, doesn't this raise a question about soft targets, though? Before I know people are leery about Times Square, Madison Square Garden, but now here you're on a street in Chelsea.
Yeah, the question of why Chelsea?
Yeah.
And again, hopefully we'll be able to figure that out. Hopefully when we get to talk to them, we'll figure that out. But as far as soft targets, if you've seen what's gone on in the police department over the last 2.5 years, what we've done, and it's the tip of the spear is our ESU cops. Highly trained.
What is ESU?
Emergency Services Unit.
Okay.
With their Hercules package. But in addition,
the Hercules package.
It's, Charlie, you've probably seen them. It's heavily armed police officers with somebody from Highway escorting them around, and they go to various areas throughout the city. That's the way we used to do business, and we used to have critical response vehicles.
Is there a message, too, given how quickly the NYPD was able to, and FBI were able to identify him and catch him? I mean, which is that this city has a lot of surveillance. You guys can move. I mean, you guys are at the best in the business. I mean, you can't mess with New York City.
No, you know what? You really can't. And just to finish that, the point about the Critical Response Command and the SRG. And again, these are highly trained people. They have long guns. I think it goes a long way to making the people in the city feel safe. I think the message is that, you know what? It's an open society. New York City is a great place to come. But if you're going to come here and you're going to do something bad, you're going to pay the price and you're going to face justice.
And this came at a time in which you had the United Nations General Assembly.
Yeah,
and foreign leaders who need protection were pouring in here.
The General Assembly is something that we've been doing for a real long time. And if you take a look at the level of security out there, it's tremendous. And the number of personnel, and again, not just NYPD, it's our federal partners also.
Whenever
intelligence. That seems to me a critical element. Everybody's raising questions about, looking at lists and who might be on a passenger list because they went to Pakistan, Afghanistan, and all of that. How good is our intelligence?
I think our intelligence is very good, but more important than that is the level of cooperation we have with our federal partners, specifically the FBI. It's just Bill Sweeney's a tremendous individual, as is Diego Rodriguez. He just retired. So I think that communication, that back and forth communication, I can pick up the phone at any time and call Bill and find out what's going on.
And cooperation with the people, too. The people pitching in, too. Everybody always says, authorities always say, don't live in fear, live your life. Even the president yesterday said we have to carry on. How do you tell people not to live in fear when you're in someplace like Chelsea or at a restaurant, you're walking down the street and a bomb explodes? How do you not be afraid?
Don't live in fear, but pay attention to where you are. Pay attention to your surroundings. If you see something that doesn't look right, you're from the neighborhood. You know what's right and what's not right. Take affirmative steps. Make a call to 911. Make sure we can check it out. Don't walk past it.
Thank you for coming this morning to helping us understand this.
Yeah.
Thanks, Charlie.
Commissioner O'Neill.
Gail, Laura,
thank
thanks
you
a lot.
so much. Good to have an Irishman in charge.
Says an Irish woman.
Fran Townsend is a former Homeland Security advisor to President George W. Bush. She is now a CBS News senior national security analyst. Fran, good morning.
Good morning.
So where are we in this investigation? What do we know about motive? What do we know about why he selected Chelsea? What do we know about whether he was connected to a cell? What do we know about what he learned in Pakistan?
So first, it's not clear he's connected to a cell. In fact, law enforcement authorities are saying there's no evidence of that at this time, but they remind us it's early in the investigation. You know, yesterday we were saying, geez, why wouldn't ISIS have claimed responsibility? Well, now what we know, these rants and where he traveled to, Charlie, it's equally likely he could have been affiliated with al-Qaeda if he's affiliated with any international group, and that's, of course, the focus of the investigation. And then third, I'd say, their investigators are very interested in understanding where was the bomb factory. He made all these devices. He would have had to accumulate stuff, the cell phone he acquired over a year ago. So where was he constructing this stuff, and why didn't anybody notice?
And did he have help?
Right.
And there are reports, Fran, that he's not cooperating. What are the options when you have a suspect and they say, I'm not talking?
Well, you know, look, he's in custody, and so he has a constitutional right not to tell us anything.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, in prior investigations where you bring somebody in the midst of this sort of an investigation and want to know if there are others out there and other devices, you're saying to him, look, you don't have to talk to us, but rest assured, if there are others out there with devices and you could help us prevent another terror attack or another explosion and you fail to, you will be charged with complicity in those future attacks and may have to face the death penalty if people are killed.
Does that carry any weight for somebody that, in most cases, they don't care if they die?
Well, that's right, but clearly this guy didn't. This guy did care. He was not interested in dying, and so
I'm particularly interested in this more than year-long trip that he took to Pakistan, where he also visited Afghanistan. Are officials, including Homeland Security officials, now going back and finding out, tracing his steps there?
Absolutely. And, you know, part of that, Nora, is going to rely on cooperation with the Afghan intelligence service and the Pakistan intelligence service. Who did he meet with? Where did he go? Is this the trip where he was radicalized? Because, of course, investigators tell us that talking to people here, when he came back after that trip, he grew a beard. He seemed to be more anti-American, those sorts of clues.
What's interesting also is the police work. One thing led them to him, and some evidence in terms of similarity of the bombs.
Yeah. And the cooperation of the public, right?
Right.
Putting out the picture. Finding him.
For the first time, many of us got that this identification, be on the lookout, turn on your TVs and take a look. Right. I had never gotten one of those before, and I was talking to many people who said, I think that was very, very helpful.
There was some debate about whether to use that, and then they said, go ahead, and it was.
Should he have been on a watch list, Fran, given his travel?
You know, I'm worried about that, and I think investigators, once you get, this is not the time to do it yet, but they'll go back and look. You know, this was an extended travel. He had family over there. It was from a country of national interest, of concern. I'll tell you, you know, as we look at the UN General Assembly, this issue about the refugee report, the IG of DHS came out and said, you know, there are all these immigrants you shouldn't have given citizenship to. And as the president's trying to convince the UN and others here in this country to allow refugees in, very bad time for that report to come out.
Thanks, Brian.
Okay, and 23rd Street is now fully open. Where that bomb went off on Saturday night, it's open, and we are learning a lot more about that alleged terrorist, Ahmad Khan Rahami.
Yeah, he's facing attempted murder charges for shooting at police officers before his capture in Linden, New Jersey. But that's just the beginning of the charges that he's facing.
Yeah, he's facing, and also we're learning a lot about him. We just mentioned, in many respects, a normal, average guy. Friends, associates say they did not see this one coming, but they didn't know him very well, apparently. Kerry Drew is live in Chelsea with more. Hello, Kerry.
Greg and Rosanna, good morning to both of you. And now that 23rd Street has reopened to traffic, we're getting a closer look at Saturday night's explosion site, the site where it happened. Take a look behind me. This was 23rd Street between 6th and 7th Avenues. You can see all of the debris that was here Saturday night has since been cleared away. We are still seeing a lot of police in the neighborhood this morning. The main suspect in this case, Ahmad Khan Rahami, is in the hospital this morning. He's been charged with 5 counts of attempted murder and will also be facing federal charges. Rahami was captured alive after a massive manhunt that ended in a shootout with police. A bystander in this Linden, New Jersey neighborhood recorded the dramatic shootout between Linden police and Ahmad Khan Rahami. The 28-year-old terror suspect was shot in the leg. The events began to unfold Monday morning after law enforcement issued a cell phone alert and picture of Rahami. A few hours later, at about 10:30 a.m., Linden police were notified that a man was sleeping in a bar doorway. Officer Angel Padilla recognized Rahami from the police bulletin.
The officer then ordered him to show his hands. As the gentleman pulled his hand out of a valise, he had a handgun and he fired at the officer, striking him once in the abdomen.
Padilla's bulletproof vest saved him from serious injury. Authorities say Rahami then got away.
The gentleman then just got up and started walking in a westerly direction down East Elizabeth Avenue and was randomly discharging his handgun.
One of the bullets struck another officer, Peter Hammer, in a passing police car. Authorities say Rahami is directly linked to the Saturday night bombing on 23rd Street in Chelsea, the pressure cooker bomb found on 27th Street, and a pipe bomb explosion that happened Saturday in Seaside Park, New Jersey. There were also 5 bombs found near the train station in Elizabeth, New Jersey, where he lived. An FBI robot accidentally detonated one of those devices. Law enforcement was able to zero in on Rahami thanks to this surveillance video of him from the Chelsea bombing scene. Meanwhile, Rahami had surgery on his leg, and when doctors give the go-ahead, federal investigators will interrogate him.
Now that we have this suspect in custody, the investigation can focus on other aspects, such as whether this individual acted alone and what his motivations may have been.
And this morning there are reports that say federal prosecutors are drafting charges against Rahami, and we may find out those charges as early as Monday. Now for an update on the conditions of those 2 Linden police officers. Officer Padilla, who we told you was shot in the abdomen, was treated for his injuries at a hospital in New Jersey and then released. Officer Hammer suffered graze wounds when a bullet went right through his police car window. He was held at the hospital overnight for observation, but thankfully both of these Linden police officers are expected to be okay. That's the latest live from here at the explosion site in Chelsea. I'll send things back to you in the studio.
This is AP News Minute. President Barack Obama delivered his final address to the UN General Assembly, where he focused much of his speech on rejecting fundamentalism and embracing tolerance across the globe. Obama also discussed the need for diplomacy to stop violence in Syria and encouraged aid to those in need. A law enforcement official says the FBI looked into the New York bombing suspect 2 years ago after his father called with concerns that his son was a terrorist. The father later retracted the claim. The FBI found nothing connecting the suspect to any terror groups. The CEO of Wells Fargo apologized to the Senate Banking Committee Tuesday for betraying customers' trust in a scandal over allegations that employees opened millions of unauthorized accounts and moved money into them. So far, some 5,300 Wells Fargo employees have been fired. Angelina Jolie Pitt has filed for divorce from Brad Pitt, bringing an end to one of the world's most star-studded romances. A lawyer for Jolie Pitt says the decision was made for the health of the family. The couple has 6 kids together. Matthew Burgoyne, The Associated Press, with AP News Minute.
Iraqi forces have kicked off a major operation to liberate the key district of Shirqat, 100 kilometers south of the city of Mosul in Nineveh province. Iraqi Premier Haidar al-Abadi made the announcement in a televised speech.
We announced the beginning of a new phase of operations to liberate the district of Shirqat, and we tell the people of Shirqat victory is coming and that we are coming to rescue them from the persecution of Daesh. Simultaneously, operations will also be launched to cleanse the districts of Jazirat al-Rumadi and Heat from the presence of remnants of Daesh terrorists.
Shirqat lies on the banks of the Tigris River. Iraqi troops and popular mobilization units Hashd al-Shabi have been building up to capture Shirqat since they fully liberated the oil-rich district of Beji in October of 2015.
The continuous victories on both fronts, the Western Front and the Northern Front, which includes all of Baiji, Qayyara and now Shirkat, will pave the way for the full liberation of Nineveh province. These are all indicators that our war with Daesh terrorists is in final stage.
So far, Iraqi forces say they are standing at a distance of 3 kilometers from the center of Shirkat and are advancing towards the district. The district of Shirkat is one of Daesh's final bastions in the province of Salah ad-Din and has been under the control of the Takfiris since June of 2014. Its liberation will free tens of thousands of civilians who are living under the rule of Daesh. It will also pave the way for the liberation of Hawija district, the last remaining bastion for Daesh south of Mosul, thus liberating Mosul's southern flank completely. Altaf Ahmad, Press TV, Baghdad.
Well, joining us now is East Bay Congressman Eric Swalwell, who is a member of the Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. And first of all, you have some, I guess, breaking news, if you will, about potential other suspects.
Ted, I've been briefed a couple times today and recently learned that it is believed that there could be 2 up to 6 others out there based on footage observed of 3 individuals at both sites placing bombs. So now, you know, the suspect in custody now, he could have been one of them. So you're talking maybe 2 to 5. If he was not one of them, it could be 6 if there's 3 different ones. But, you know, FBI, local law enforcement, they're investigating that, and they have acted swiftly so far, and hopefully that'll continue.
Any indication that the people detained on the bridge have anything to do with this?
Not yet. We have not been briefed on those individuals. Also learned that the suspect had traveled a number of times from 2005 to 2014 to Afghanistan and Pakistan. That alone is never a telltale sign that someone's going to participate in terrorism. However, that taken with other actions that we're learning certainly point to someone who was radicalized.
But he was not on the radar. He wasn't on anyone's radar, and he was a law-abiding citizen. Otherwise, you know, besides his travel, is this not the worst-case scenario?
This is a bad situation. The good news is law enforcement have arrested him. Hopefully that'll lead to the whereabouts if there are others. But what we fear are people who are in the United States already, are traveling abroad and are in communication with terrorist groups, or start to really fall in line with terrorist beliefs and then come back to the United States and carry out plots.
So how do we protect ourselves?
Well, it's going to take all of us. This case is the best example of that, in that you know, we didn't deport all Muslims. We didn't violate all of the laws that we've always had in this country. Local law enforcement worked with the FBI, and a tip from the public led to this person's arrest. So it's going to take more of all of us just being on alert.
You sent out a tweet today saying that, in effect, you said that, hey, we didn't deport Muslims, we didn't take away all their rights, all law enforcement worked together, and the bad guy was caught. But in these situations, don't you have people gravitating towards a more aggressive policy and more of the Donald Trump type rhetoric? Isn't that a natural feeling for people? Like, we've got to get tough.
Sure. When you see these attacks in Orlando and San Bernardino, I mean, it's natural to, you know, wonder about the safety of yourself and your family. But, you know, what makes our country already so great is that we are a free and open society that values free speech, that doesn't believe the government should be in all of our computers. But we also have to make sure that our law enforcement have all of the tools they need, you know, within the law to track down these individuals. And so I'm going to go back tomorrow, be briefed again, and I'm going to ask, what else do we need to make sure we find individuals like this?
Okay, and again, to reiterate, you're saying that you have been briefed and that there are possibly more suspects. One is in custody, but you've been briefed and you believe there could be more suspects.
I was told today that there were at least 3 people at both locations, which they believe are linked, seen placing items down. And so whether the individual arrested today is still unknown, if he was one of them. So you're looking at 2 to 6 individuals who may still be out there.
All right, Congressman Swalwell, thanks for coming in. Appreciate it. Thanks for the information.
Authorities have found new evidence that may provide some clues into Rahami's motive.
All right, Lisa Evers joins us now with what we've learned today. Lisa.
Well, Stephen Daria's new and disturbing details emerge about alleged bomber Ahmad Rahami. The FBI says he appears to have acted alone and is not part of a terror cell. But Congressman Peter King says there are way too many questions that need to be answered. He's calling for a wide-ranging investigation. The New York FBI office is confirming to Fox 5 News that bombing suspect Ahmad Rahami was on their radar, issuing a statement that says, in part, the FBI conducted internal database reviews, interagency checks, and multiple interviews, none of which revealed ties to terrorism. To Congressman Peter King, chair of the Counterterrorism Subcommittee, this in itself is troubling.
Yeah, we've seen this in Boston with the Boston bombing, we've seen it in San Bernardino, we've seen it in Orlando, and now it appears we see it in New Jersey, where the FBI had information, closed out their own investigation, and really did not keep the local police informed of what was happening.
King says other factors warranted closer scrutiny of Rahami, like his trips to Afghanistan and his wife and mother leaving the country in the days before the bombings. Then there are the devices themselves. Bomb experts tell me the timing devices indicated a level of sophistication not likely from internet instructions or a first-time try.
How do you carry around pressure cooker bombs? And where do you keep them? Where do you store them? I mean, we're not talking about hand grenades. We're talking about pressure cooker bombs, pipe bombs. This guy had an arsenal. Where did he keep that?
Those are some of the issues being looked at by the NYPD and FBI and their partners in the Joint Terrorism Task Force, often called the JTTF. Rahami reportedly had writings praising well-known terror leaders and shared anti-American videos with his sister. Now another key issue, the choice of locations. Seaside Park, New Jersey was a scene of a charity run with the U.S. Marines, and Chelsea is a predominantly LGBTQ community. Both groups have been the targets of terrorists in the past.
First and foremost, every officer that was involved is doing great. I think it's a commendable situation for all officers involved. Angel's doing great, thankfully. He was in stable condition earlier. He's now, from what I'm hearing, doing extremely well. He's in high spirits. Obviously, after being in such a traumatic situation, he's in a bit of a shock. But as a whole, the family, him, all parties involved are doing extremely great, and we're thankful for him, thankful for the officers involved, and thankful that we got a terrorist off the street that are no longer causing a threat to society. So, I commend Angel, commend every other officer involved, and thank God we're doing well today.
He acted. He didn't hesitate. He was not apprehensive, but also, once again, he was part of a slew of police officers that kind of arrived in waves and were able to control this threat. But this is the amazing part, that today, after visiting him and just being up front and personal and having good positive contact with Angel, he's wearing that brilliant smile that he usually does, which tells you that he knows in his heart he did the right thing. And you can't ask more, for more than that.
Unfortunately, I haven't had the luxury of having a one-on-one with him for obvious reasons. The situation is still under investigation. Obviously, he can't say much, not even to me. But I'm pretty sure, knowing my brother, that he take it as I'm just doing my job. Tomorrow he'll go back out there and do it again. I'm sure he has no regrets. I'm sure that if he was in that same situation, he'd do it all over again. But, unfortunately, I can't say much, but knowing him, I'm pretty certain that he's humbled. He won't take too much credit for it. I think he should be commended. I think what he did was phenomenal. Like he said, he took upon a situation that was, volatile, and he handled it properly, him and the other officers involved. And for that, I commend him.